I hate my brother-in-law for what he did on my wedding day. Pretty much the title. My spouse 26 and I 27 got married earlier this year. Hooray! The ceremony was extremely small and personal, and it was all we could ask for. Unfortunately, this is where the good times with the family, not my spouse, ended. Here's some backstory. My spouse's brother, referred to as Steve in the rest of the post, is 32 years old. He was a delivery driver for years until he unexpectedly quit. He was in and out of jobs for a couple of years until landing a DoorDash gig. No shade to any job, money is money at the end of the day. Steve knew about the trip for at least 4 months. He lives at home with his parents and has little to no bills. Despite all of this, Steve did not save any money for the trip and admitted to spending his money on vapes and weed. In fact, Steve began the trip bragging that his bank account balance was $25 in the negative. This will be relevant later. Here's what happened. Our wedding was in a tourist location known for various liquor and wine tastings. The night before our ceremony, my mother-in-law, family friend, spouse, and I went on a bar crawl. Safe to say we all were pleasantly intoxicated, not enough to be a nuisance, but enough to stumble back to our hotel. Notably absent from this night out was my spouse's brother, 32, Steve. The next day, the day of the wedding, as I mentioned, went swimmingly until the evening. In celebration of our nuptials, we decided as a family that it was Booze Cruise Night 2. The original entourage meal, family, friend, spouse, myself, was joined by my new brother-in-law, Steve. It is important to note that Steve had zero money to his name, and since drinking costs money, he was freeloading on this booze cruise. The original group did not drink as heavily this time. We were sufficiently buzzed, but not stumbling drunk. We decided to cut ourselves off, as responsible drinkers do, and this is where the night began to turn. It was when we decided to cease drinking that Steve grew grumpy. He moaned, "I wish I would have been there the first night." Only he was there. He chose not to tag along because tourist towns suck. Steve then tried to pressure the rest of us to continue drinking. After continuous refusals, we convinced Steve it was time for dinner and a nightcap. We were seated at the restaurant. We all ordered water, and then we had our individual drink orders. I ordered a glass of wine, my spouse ordered a cocktail, and Steve ordered a shot of Jack Daniel's and a beer. Reminder, he was ordering these drinks on my spouse's tab. When our waters arrived, my spouse shot a paper straw wrapper at Steve. Then Steve returned the favor. Then our specialty drinks arrived. My spouse then grabbed the extra straw that came with their drink and shot an additional wrapper at Steve. All hell broke loose. Steve yelled, "If I can't get you back, then you can't shoot me with a straw wrapper." He then downed the Jack Daniel's, aggressively threw the glass across the table and into the appetizer trays. Fortunately, nothing broke, but the noise brought the entire world to a standstill. Steve stormed off, and that was the last we saw of him that night. You would think this is where the story ends, but my spouse and I caught up with Mill the next morning, and she filled us in on what transpired. The rest is per MIL's recollection. When we grabbed breakfast at 8 a.m. the next day, apparently before the booze cruise, Mill gave Steve petty cash for knickknacks and drinks so that he could pay for things himself. Remember, Steve didn't pay for a single tasting. So what did he do with the money he squirreled away? Well, after Steve stormed out of the restaurant, he drank himself into oblivion. He was so inebriated that my Mill received a call at 3 in the morning from a local bar telling her to pick up Steve before they called the cops. My Mill then got out of bed, woke up my Phil, who has ailing health and mobility issues, picked Steve up and headed back to the hotel. However, as they were nearing the hotel, Steve escaped. We don't know whether he jumped out of the car or fled from the bar on foot. Nevertheless, he ran down an alley, rolled his ankle, lost his shoes and his phone. He was then coaxed back into the car and finally put to bed at 4 in the morning. The next day he left, and my spouse and I have refused to talk to him ever since. A week later, my spouse received an apology text from Steve in which he stated that he was blackout drunk at the restaurant. I doubt this, as there were no other signs of that level of drunkenness, and he regretted his actions. He also stated that his biggest regret was not ruining our wedding night. but yelling at his mom. While both are awful, his need to include that in his apology made the whole message ring hollow. We have not replied to him since. TLDR. On the night of my wedding, my Bill got drunk, made a fool of himself, and ruined the mood of what was supposed to be a wonderful night.